God Gamer Jump. Getting over it. Pogo stuff. Jumping. Fuck yeah!
I'm Maurice, and this is the French-American YouTube streamer Ludwig Agren, whose love-hate relationship with what are known as fighting games has led to the creation of his favourite challenge run, the God Gamer Gauntlet. First seen in this video from the 19th of May 2019, the Gauntlet itself originally forced you to be getting over it, Pogo Stuck and Jump King within only an hour, before quickly evolving as the DLC for both Jump King and Pogo Stuck came out. A game we don't talk about was delisted from Steam, and a difficult game about climbing was released. Despite requiring you to beat 8 full-length games in less than 60 minutes, this challenge might seem trivial for anyone, let alone Ludwig, to beat quite easily. Since, indie games aren't that hard, right? Well, that's until you find out what a fighting game really is. Fighting games themselves, named after the creator of Getting Over It, Bennett Foddy, are video games whose unique movement, insane difficulty, and lack of substantial checkpoints create the perfect balance of risk, reward, and rage, leading to some of the best moments, largest viewerships, biggest time losses, and longest total playtimes of the entire speedrunning and content creating community. But what happens when you overcome these cultural pillars of the internet to pull off the perfect speedrun? Well, we don't know exactly because it hasn't actually happened yet, but fuck it. Let's simply combine the best times of each game and respective DLC to create the perfect speedrun ourselves. As always, I'm Maurice, and it's time to find out how the God Gamer Gauntlet is broken AF over 5 years later. Hey Lud, hope you're enjoying the video so far. As I'm sure you know, when looking at Getting Over It, the plan is simple. Just get to the top of the mountain with our man Diogenes and his handy dandy hammer without fucking up and falling to the bottom. So let's see how speedrunner Blastbolt does it. Flinging off trees through the tutorial, Blastbolt navigates oars, cabins, pipes, barrels, and girders and climbs the Devil's Chimney. As he ascends the construction site, flies over this beam and launches off this roof to reach these stairs. After taking on Furniture Land and what's known as Orange Hell, our runner continues past this rock wall, gargoyle, thumbs up, and bad jump scare, before scaling this building, making an anvil jump, and rolling over these boulders. Using this bucket to reach both this bridge and the upper level, Blastbolt sprints up Snow Mountain, over this trolley, up this radio tower, and past these meteors into the end of the game, breaking the 1 minute barrier and adding a 59-second split to the total time. Much like Getting Over It, Pogo Stuck requires you to get to the top of certain structures with, as the name suggests, a pogo stick, all while having a steeper difficulty curve and 2 additional maps. And I won't keep you waiting, so let's get started. Pogoing over these nuts and bananas, Test flies launches over this bone pit, passes this cloud of mosquitoes, and scales this windswept cliff, before bouncing off a tree branch to land on yet another and crossing these grapes. Continuing into the forest, our runner bounces off mushrooms and navigates several pineapples, prior to getting on this palm frond, using it to jump up above, and bouncing off even more mushrooms to land up here. Passing this field of flowers, Test flies hurls past this armadillo, slides over the ice, and weaves through these walls, allowing him to land between these fangs, jump over eggs, meet his fellow troglodytes, land sideways to stack height multipliers, and cross the line, allowing him to nab a world record and continue onto the Monolith of Perseverance. Entering this cave, Suwa passes through this anthill and traverses these coconuts, before climbing past several leaf clovers, petals, and flower buds, finding this caterpillar and jumping into the slipstream. As he lands in some honey and fucks up this honeycomb jump, he skips across several bees, dives back down, and bounces off these mushrooms, allowing our runner to platform over prickles and maneuver around these rotating pillars and pendulums. Climbing the crocodile and jumping between these ducks, Suwa lands on a plum with its own gravitational pull and uses it to follow the snake up this pillar. Reaching blocks he can launch straight through, rebounding to the left and conquering the monolith itself. So let's move on to the root of all evil. Bouncing onto the bonsai, launching over this broken bridge and scaling this tree, Sewer climbs the rock face, reaches his future DMCA, and slides past frogs through the water. As he flings off this invisible block, lands among the strawberries, and navigates this pirate ship. Ricocheting between these ruins, a caterpillar, a random bone, and this pelican, our runner jumps past this fan and bounces off this gate onto these vines, before flying up and down through hoops, traversing floating rocks, and finishing the final DLC. Meaning that test flies and sewer end up with times of 2:36, 3:46, and 2:20 respectively, adding a split of 8 minutes and 42 seconds to the challenge's final time. But why stop here when we can launch in the Jump King? Where instead of using a cauldron, hammer, or poker stick to get around, this short king only has access to the power of his legs, forcing him to, as the name suggests, jump through 3 different maps to reach the smoking hot babes at the top of each tower. Within the original Jump King and its 2 DLCs, known as Main Babe, New Babe Plus, and Ghost of the Babe respectively, Trim King flies out of the pit below and navigates the leaves and branches of the Red Crown Woods, whilst the first 2 runs continue into the Redwood and the third lands in the Philosopher's Forest. Launching upwards through the tunnels and cages of the Colossal Drain, our runner rebounds through the False King's Keep as he leaps past Candlelight and Falling Rain and brute forces the slanted roofs, tight gaps, and tough jumps of Bargenberg. As Trim King leaves the city to continue the Main Babe campaign, New Babe Plus instead takes him through the secret entrance into the Imp Pit, the beginning of said DLC. In the Great Frontier, our runner leaps between several floating platforms and flagpoles past these trees, before landing in the Windswept Bluff and Stormwall Pass, timing his jumps through the thick snow to glide through the air and ending up in the Chapel Perilous. Bumping off chandeliers past these stained glass windows, our runner ends up outside and slides up and down through the ice of the Blue Ruins, prior to bouncing back and forth through the tower and reaching the namesake of Main Babe itself. Returning to the New Babe Plus DLC, Trim King continues into the Imp Pit and the Bright Crown Woods, before navigating the snow-covered rendition of Red Crown and taking on the bright blue ice and cages of the Colossal Dungeon. Rebounding and launching off the walls, chandeliers, and platforms of the False King's Castle, our runner flies forward through Underberg's moving wind and precise platforming, ending up in the Lost Frontier and springboarding between its Ludwig-shaped shrapnel. Uncovering the Hidden Kingdom, our runner moves through the disappearing and reappearing landscape, before he returns to the real world and the Black Sanctum and weaves around its sloped platforms and snake NPC. Hurling into the gravity-defying water of the Deep Ruin, our runner flings in slow motion between angled platforms and makes it to the brain destroyer that is the Dark Tower, leading them straight to the New Babe themselves. Back in the Philosopher's Forest of the Ghost of the Babe DLC, Trim King leaps upwards through the foliage of this hollowed-out tree, falling into the dark, jumping to the right, and plummeting into the bog below. Maneuvering the murky water of the bog itself at 0.5 speed, our runner slides into the Moulding Manor, skips between its many roofs and overhangs, and enters Bogstalk, chasing flies across several slippery surfaces and entering the House of 9 Lives. Alternating between solid ground and dozens of cat-shaped lamps, Trim King traverses the turbulent Phantom Tower and calls the bluff of this fake ending, before using the waterfalls of the Halted Ruin to his advantage and crossing these crows to reach the Tower of Antumbra. Jumping straight through some quicksand and leaping over some random ass faces, our runner can finally reach the Ghost of the Babe herself, meaning all 3 runs can come to a close at times of 3:59, 5:34, and 5:12 respectively. But we're not done yet, as it's finally time to check out the world record of a difficult game about climbing, whose continued use of deceptively simple movement in the form of gravity-based rock climbing, swinging, and jumping on top of several soft checkpoints makes it more of a Fodian light than the original trilogy. Despite that, this game definitely belongs in this quartet of Fodian masterpieces, so we might as well get going. Climbing out of the lake below and through the slippery surfaces above, Orzajik grabs here to obliterate the tutorial and jumps this gap, leading him to scutter up this tree and reach the jungle. After he scales the rocks and foliage of this waterfall, our runner flings across the water streams and from one branch to another, allowing him to get to the marble sculpture, pillars, and cogs of Checkpoint 4, Gears. Navigating these spinning cogs and rising sandbags to emerge in France, Ozagic makes it past his windows and up the right side of this domed roof, giving him the chance to launch off this chest to land in the pool below and quickly scale this rock wall. Flinging from this pendulum to this tree, from this pirate wheel to this crow's nest, and from this telephone wire to this swinging beam, our runner swings at once to skip it entirely and gets to construction, before brute forcing this concrete pillar and defeating another set of sandbags. At the 6th checkpoint known as Cave, our runner races through the rocks, wheels, lamps, and Buddha statue of the area. As he avoids blue mushrooms, lands in the final section, slides up and down through the ice, and climbs past this cabin, group of clouds, single ladder, and set of credits. Meaning Ozagic ends his world record winning speedrun in only 3 minutes and 51 seconds. Which also means that if we combine the 59 seconds of getting over it, the 8:40 of Pogo Stuck, the 14:45 of Jump King, and the 3:51 of a difficult game about climbing, we can see that the Godgamma Gauntlet, despite its hour time limit, can be beaten in only 28 minutes and 5 seconds. And that was the Godgamma Gauntlet, whose ability to create the perfect balance of risk, reward, and rage have managed to create the most insane parts of the entire speedrunning and content creating community. And that's all thanks to the least famous yet tallest Ludwig in the history of mankind. So Lud, how do you feel that your favourite challenge run is Broken AF? Good luck on beating that. Oh, and you just have to get these people on the next Fast 50. The Godgamma Gauntlet Showcase has a certain ring to it, you know? But while you work on that, if there are any YouTuber challenge runs anyone watching this think I should check out, then by all means suggest it in the comments and I'll see what I can do. Oh, and I've actually looked at Doug Dog, so don't suggest that one. And without further ado, this is Arise, out.